I'm Dave. Not a great guitarist, but I own 12 guitars, more than some, a good deal less than others from what I see on YouTube videos. Lots of those videos on YouTube, of course, and my guitar collection is nothing special. If you're expecting to see ultra rare guitars, then I'm afraid you'll be a bit disappointed, but it is nevertheless a nice collection of guitars, that blend of wood and steel and yes, plastic as well. And so I have been collecting guitars since 1994. So this being December 2017, you can see that I've been doing this for quite a while. Although there has been an acceleration in my acquisitions in the last 2 or 3 years. But anyway, I'll try and keep it as short as possible, give you a little bit of story about each guitar, why I've got them, how I came by them, and I'll start off with a Fender Strat, but maybe not as we know it, Jim. Many of you will recognize this as a Japanese photo flame Fender Strat. These were built between 1993 and 1995, so although thousands would have been built, in comparative guitar numbers it's reasonably rare, I would say. Is it accumulating in value? I have no idea. It doesn't really bother me if it is or if it isn't, because I bought this for a specific reason. In 1994 I was made redundant after 28 years in my particular career, and I got a little bit of compensation money, of course, and decided that I would buy a guitar. I had fiddled around with acoustic guitars even before 1994, but the appeal of owning a quality electric guitar, not a real Fender, because my playing ability is not good enough to justify spending that kind of money even in 1994. So I bought this one from Axis Guitars. It was purchased in Edinburgh, a shop no longer there. It was run by my good friend Davy May, and this was bought on the 26th of February 1994. It's on the receipt. It says Fender 50s Reissue Strat. I've had the neck taken off this guitar to have a look, and it's stamped ST, presumably for Stratocaster, 54, presumably a 1954 reissue, EX for export. Let me tell you that the quality of this guitar is utterly outstanding. It plays beautifully, and there are stories of this photographic maple top, and that's what it is. It's a photograph designed and produced by the Fuji Photographic Company in Japan to keep costs down when Fender were trying to keep costs down and license these instruments to be made in Japan, as I say, between 93 and 95. I bought this, as I say, in 1994. There are stories of this crimson colour body and perhaps the other finishes that the guitar was done in, crazing, cracking. That hasn't happened to this instrument, I'm very pleased to say. It's, from what I read, a basswood body. It has a vintage maple neck. It has presumably replica tuners on it, and the circular string tree here. It has this vintage style string loading mechanism. I don't use the tremolo on it, but they're all these saddles are stamped Fender. And I bought this, as I say, just as a memento really of my working career. So, Fender Photo Flame. Made in Japan, this one, not crafted in Japan. I gather there is some debate as to whether one is better than the other. My reading is that the made in Japan ones, like this, are the better of the two. But the quality is outstanding. So on to number 2. Number 2 is an electroacoustic plastic roundback guitar by DeVille. I don't know too much about DeVille, but subsequent to me being made redundant around about 1996-97, I was working elsewhere with a few colleagues, and we set up a band, and some of the numbers that we were doing required this type of instrument. DeVille, I don't know too much about it, as I say, but I think there are plenty of documents about it. Its controls are presence, treble, mid-range, bass, and the volume here with a battery check there. It runs on a 9-volt power pack, and it plays very nicely indeed. It's Sunburst, vintage Sunburst perhaps. Plastic round back. The neck looks like mahogany perhaps, not very sure. Made in Korea, this one. The machine heads have been very reliable, so I guess they're reasonable quality. So that's my DeVille electroacoustic. Next one. This cherry red Sunburst Yamaha Pacifica. The model is 604W, W because it has a Wilkinson tremolo component here. It's also equipped with Sperzel tuners, locking tuners, and it is looks like an alder or an ash body in 3 pieces. Bolt-on neck, as you can see, maple neck, and this one is crafted in Taiwan, made in Taiwan. Now this one came from another of Edinburgh's long since departed music shop, Mev Taylor's musical instrument shop, and I bought this one on the 8th of November 1999. Let me go back to the DeVille. I purchased the DeVille on the 24th of May 1997. So you can see we're up to 1999 now. This Yamaha Pacifica was bought for work in the band. I did not want to use the Fender Strat. That had been bought for a particular memento reason, if you like, and I didn't want it dinged or bashed, nor did I want that to happen to this one either. But nothing has gone wrong with this guitar. It was played a lot at rehearsals and at gigs, and nobody should ever underestimate the quality of even the entry-level Yamaha Pacifica guitars. They are some of the best value for money guitars around. So it's a rosewood neck, of course, and humbucker here. Not particularly powerful humbucker, but a lovely instrument. I hope you will agree. So, next one. Next one is an Epiphone Les Paul Custom Ebony, and this one came from an organisation called Sound Control, another of the long since past guitar shops. I bought this one on the 10th of April 2007. The band was still going at that time, and it needed one or two of the songs needed a humbucker heavier sound than we were getting from the Yamaha Pacifica. So this is the Tuxedo one, I think they call it. It's a mahogany body made in China. It's a 3-piece mahogany body. I can see just one or two, I can see the seams here. 1 piece, 2 piece, 3 pieces. Set neck, of course. It has Grover tuners, proper serial number on it, made in China, as I say. 1 or 2 little, not cracks or crazies, just the way it's been finished. I think the Chinese have possibly upped their game in more recent years. But the only thing I've done to this guitar is to fit a roller bridge on it. If I'm right in thinking when I did it, I seem to remember it lowered the action. I like a low action guitar, and this is very low indeed, and plays very well. Very smart guitar, good powerful sound from it, and everything works perfectly. Next one. Next one, of course, is an Epiphone Dove. I didn't buy this. I was very fortunate to be given this on my 60th birthday in 2009 by members of the band that I was still playing with. It's a lovely acoustic guitar. Just look at that colour. Lovely crimson cherry colour with the cream piping round the edges, the usual Dove pick guard here, rosewood bridge. With the inlays. Again, this one has Grover tuners made in Indonesia, and I haven't played this much at all. I prefer playing electric guitars, but it was a lovely gift to get, and I would never ever part with this given the circumstances that I received it in. So, Epiphone Dove full acoustic guitar. So the next one I bought in the 14th of March 2015, and this was when I started to accelerate my guitar collection. I was playing them all in the house, of course, enjoying their presence in the house, a few hung on the wall, and it's an Ibanez Se Series in cherry red colour. Here it is. This was a pure indulgence, really. Isn't it a pretty guitar? I've got a little bit of screensaver material here just to avoid scratches. There's no pick guard on this model, of course. It's a rosewood fingerboard, maple neck, very slim profile neck. It'll have Ibanez tuners on it, made in Indonesia again, and it has the well, what Ibanez call the true duo bucker, humbucker here. It's not a particularly powerful humbucker, but this was an indulgent buy, really. I just loved the look of it. It's a mahogany body with a two-piece maple veneer cap on the top here. Lovely tremolo action. The Ibanez tremolo works very well indeed, and a lovely low action on this guitar as well. A lightweight guitar. Very Strat sounding, I think. It's not a heavyweight guitar, it doesn't produce a heavy sound, but as smooth as silk to play and to touch. Very nice indeed. So I hope you enjoyed seeing that one. It's part of the SA series, which is pretty much the entry level ones. So give me a moment and I'll get the next one. Yes, it's a Squire Bullet Strat. Hands up in horror, I see you saying. Well, not quite, because this is an instrument made in Indonesia, and my goodness, the quality of it is so much higher than the current range of Squire Bullet Strats that I see in the shops. I bought this second hand about 2 years ago. That would make it 2015, middle of 2015 perhaps, from one of the cash generator style stores that you can walk in and browse and maybe pick up a bargain. Got to be careful though what you buy in these places, but if you know what you're looking for, then you can sometimes get to really quite a good bargain. And I think I did with this guitar. I paid £79 for it. It was brand new. I gather the story is that it was won by somebody in a raffle who didn't want it, wasn't a guitar player, and traded it in, if you like. The cellophane was still on the pickguard when I bought it, and interestingly enough, this is one of the ones which I think initially was sold through Apple computer stores only, although later I think they may well have been sold in guitar stores, but initially through Apple stores. And it's interesting because it has a USB socket on it here and a headphone socket, which means that this model is equipped with some software in it that allows you to plug into your computer directly and record directly to the hard drive. Very interesting. This is a quality guitar. It weighs about £8, so it's no lightweight. I think my reading of it, this model is a 3-piece basswood body. It has a very substantial single ply white pickguard on it. There's an HSS format here, of course, a humbucker, single coil. It has a lovely C profile, maple neck, bolt-on neck, of course, Squire stamped on the back, and as I say, crafted in Indonesia. This is a 2012 model, judging from the serial number. Rosewood fretboard, white inlays here, truss rod adjustment at the top. I don't think the tuners are particularly good, but they've actually done very well, and this instrument offers me the lowest action of all the guitars I own, and some of them are pretty low. Quite how the Indonesians have managed to get such accuracy at such a low price point, I don't know. I think these retailed originally for about £130, £140 with that little bit of software in it, but I have an awful lot of time for this guitar. It plays really well. They're ceramic pickups, nothing special. It's a beautiful finish on it. I don't use the tremolo. I've disabled the tremolo, in fact. But as I say, it's looks like a vintage Sunburst, I think, tobacco Sunburst perhaps. Everything about it is much higher quality than I would ever have expected from a Squire Bullet, their entry level. I certainly wouldn't buy one of the current model ones, which retail for about £110. I just don't think they're worth that. But for £79, I thought this was one to go for. So on to the next one. The next one is my most expensive guitar. It was an indulgence, yes. Couldn't afford a real modern day £1,500 sterling Gibson Les Paul, so I bought a second hand one. Here it is. It's a Gibson Les Paul Studio 2005 model. Lovely deep red wine colour, mahogany body of course, maple cap on the top, rosewood fingerboard, lovely low action on this, chunky neck, Gibson Deluxe tuning heads on it, very nice indeed. Heavyweights, it's the heaviest guitar I own. It's about 9.5–10 pounds, I think, if I remember rightly from weighing it. The only thing I've done to it is to put a roller saddle bridge on it, and just in the interest of doing a small mod to it and hope that it helps it to stay in tune, not that it goes out of tune, other than for humidity and cold and warmth problems that all guitars suffer from. But it's the pickups here are Pro Bucker Pros. Can't remember the name of it. But it'll come to me. I'll try and correct it. So lovely guitar, heavy sound, great sustain on it, mahogany body. What's the piece? It looks like a 3-piece mahogany body. Yeah, 1, 2, 3 pieces there. All the electronics are sound. It had to be refretted before I bought it, or it had been refretted when I bought it. The condition of this guitar, for it being second hand and dating from 2005, is absolutely fantastic. There are no dings on it whatsoever. Quite why it needed to be refretted, which would indicate that it had been played a lot, and you might imagine that some damage would have occurred to it if it had been played so much that it needed to be refretted. I don't suppose I'll ever know the reason for it, but I paid £650 sterling for this guitar. I'm very fortunate to own it. It was an indulgence. And I love just handling it, playing it, admiring it. Next one. Gibson Pickups Burst Bucker Pros in the Gibson Les Paul. Just came to me there, Burst Bucker Pros. Next one is an Epiphone again. It's the Epiphone Dot Es 339. I did not own a hollow-bodied electric guitar. I think this one's been superseded now by the Pro version. Might be wrong in that, but this is the vintage Sunburst model. It has Epiphone, I think, Alnico 5 pickups on it. The tuning machine heads are Grover Deluxe. Made in China, but this is an immaculate instrument. The Chinese, as I said before, have upped their game, I think, in recent years because of the sheer world competition that there is for making quality guitars. This is flawless. This guitar is flawless. You cannot see any imperfections in it whatsoever. Tunematic bridge, of course. You can split the coils, split the pickups. The variation of sound from this guitar is immense. Everything from kind of soft jazzy feel to a hard rock blues, if you like, and all points in between. So I love this guitar. This one was bought, let me see, in the date, excuse me, just delaying for a wee minute, was 29th of March 2017. So there we have it, Epiphone Dot Es 339. Next one. Well, if you follow this video right through, you'll see that there are no Telecasters in the collection, and I wanted to put that right, and I did so on the 28th of September 2017 from a small guitar shop in Perth, Scotland called Bandwagon. What's the story behind this one? Well, there is a story behind it. I had been looking for a Squire Classic Vibe Telecaster. Again, didn't want to afford, because of my lack of playing ability and justification, a proper Fender Telecaster. Far too much money really, and this one seemed to be as close to that kind of perfection as you can get, certainly judging from the reviews that from people that own them. So I was looking around and thought maybe I could pick up a second-hand one. Scouring the internet, located this one. The web page said some damage. Well, I'm the kind of guy that doesn't like things being damaged, but given that it was on reduction, I phoned the shop owner 40 miles away. What was the damage? And he told me the story, and if I've got this slightly wrong, it's because I wasn't there, but as far as I can understand it, father and son go into the shop. Son sits down to play a guitar of choice. Father has a go at this one, hooked on a claw, took it down, started playing it, tried to put it back on the claw, misjudged the placement of it, and it fell probably several feet onto a guitar below and did some body damage. I don't know if you can see this here. I have repaired it with resin glue and tried to get as good a colour match as I can, although it's not brilliant. Don't know if you can see that damage there where it struck the amplifier below, and two other small pieces of damage just here and here, which again I filled in with resin glue. I never was able to find the proper colour finish to make it look a bit more camouflaged than it is here. I suppose you could argue it's distressed, but I did get this at a substantial reduction from its £450 normal retail price. There are no other damage to the guitar at all. It's a pine body, of course. I haven't done anything to it. The tuner's working well. It's made in China. Looks as if it was made in 2016, this model, judging from the serial number. Maple neck, of course, and black inlays for your fret markers. Very low action. I hadn't played a Telecaster before, but I do love playing this instrument. It's very, very good indeed. Love it to bits. Butterscotch blonde finish. And there we have it. The scratch plate was giving quite a bit of static, I noticed when I got it, and so I took the scratch plate off. That's very easy to do on a Telecaster, of course, unlike a Strat. Took the scratch plate off, rubbed it with some fine sandpaper, treated it with some anti-static spray, put it back. Perfect. No problems at all now. So, that's that one. Now, the next one is a story as well, and I'll try and keep it as short as possible. It's quite interesting. Here it is. It's a black Stratocaster copy made in China. It was originally, it is in fact, by a company called Shine Guitars. And I had gone into Red Dog Music, one of Edinburgh's other excellent guitar shops, on the date is 28th of September 2017, with a view to buying a Squire Bullet Strat as a project upgrade. But as I've said previously in this video, the quality on that was poor, I thought, very poor indeed. The guitar weighed about £5 if it weighed anything at all. The neck was weedy, the action was high, the finish wasn't particularly good. Nowhere near the quality of the one I bought from the second-hand establishment, the Indonesian one, the quality of that far surpasses the current Squire Bullet range. The price of this was the same as the Squire Bullet, but the quality of this is much higher than the Squire Bullet Strat of today's vintage. This guitar weighs about £8, and as you can see, it's black, and I've done quite a bit to this guitar as a project. It was an ex-shop display model. I got it for £49 with its original El Cheapo Chinese electronics and what have you. So what have I done to this guitar? I think it's a plywood body. I had to get some of the bigger tone controls and pots into the cavity here. I had to chisel out some of the body, and it appeared to me to be plywood. And when I saw that, I thought, I'm not very sure what I've bought here. But this guitar resonates extremely well, and plywood bodies maybe not that well known, but pretty good actually. So what did I do to this? Well, the first thing I did to it was order some Iron Gear Texas local pickups. Fantastic! They are absolutely terrific. They drive the amplifier like a team of horses. I put black control knobs on here. I got a brand new wiring harness with full-size CTS pots, put those in. Roller saddles I put on for the interest of tuning stability. I put a Switchcraft jack socket on here. It's got Vanson locking tuners on it in black. It's got a roller string tree up here. And this guitar sings for £49. Okay, so I spent £150 getting bits for it, but it has absolutely transformed this. It's a solid guitar, lovely maple neck on it, thick rosewood body, medium frets, I would say, not jumbo, probably medium frets, and these screws here were silver, and I just daubed them with a little bit of black paint to complete the black look. And £49 basic project got me interested in doing project guitars, which brings me on to the last guitar. The last guitar is one that's featured in my other video on YouTube called Dave's First Guitar Build, and I launched that on YouTube as my first ever effort on YouTube and first ever complete guitar kit. So if you've seen that video, you'll recognise this instrument. Here it is. It's a PRS style guitar, PRS headstock here, and it's a spalted maple veneer top on a three-piece mahogany body. Have a look at my other video, it'll tell you a lot more about this instrument. It's got twin humbuckers here, Chinese of course. I've put roller saddles on it. It's a twin pivot tremolo arrangement, although I have disabled the tremolo. I very rarely use the tremolo, if at all, when I'm playing. It took me about 10 days to a fortnight to build this, to include drying times for the finish, which is a polyurethane, thin polyurethane type finish on it. The block for the tremolo to indicate the quality of this instrument and the components that are in it is a full size. It's not steel, it's an alloy block. But yeah, there are other things that I could do to this. I don't think the machine heads are particularly good. They're, I suppose, the usual sort of quality that you get from China. This kit costs £139. I bought it from UK Music Supplies on the 25th of October 2017. £139. I did have to have some fretwork done on it. The kit neck, which otherwise is ebony. This is an ebony neck, not rosewood. It's an ebony neck. There are one or two frets are really quite high here, and I got a professional luthier to dress those and correct them for me. So there we have it. An interesting guitar, plays really well. It's a powerful sounding guitar. It weighs about 7 3/4 pounds. Quite proud of this one actually. So look, there you have it. That's all my 12 guitars and the reason I've got them. I've got quite interested in kit builds now and doing upgrade projects on guitars. Whether I do another one or not remains to be seen. But anyway, look, I hope you've enjoyed this presentation. I've tried to keep it as short as possible. I hope you managed to wade your way all the way through it. Nothing special here, but if you're like me, you'll love owning guitars, playing them of course, and just generally being around them. It's an interesting pastime. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.